Okay, we're back. It's 3:21. I'm going to call to order the special called City Council meeting for May 4th. Do we have anyone for public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public comment portion of the meeting, and I will move for the adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion to adopt the agenda, seconded by Ms. Marchman. All in favor? All right, we will now move into the agenda. Tab B, governing body, the adopt a resolution authorizing the execution of documents related to the issuance of the bonds that we just had in the Public Facilities Authority meeting. Is there any questions or any discussion before we get a motion? All right. If there's none, then I will entertain a motion.
Okay, I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the issuance of authorities' revenue bonds and the execution of related documents.
All right, I have a motion to adopt the resolution, seconded by Ms. Marchman. Is there any discussion? All in favor? All right, that is unanimous. Let's move on to tab B2. This is going to be presented by Jennifer Hallman, the Finance Director. So these budget amendments are being presented today for discussion only. We intend to move these over to the agenda for Tuesday, but we wanted to make sure that we got these out here for some discussion as early as possible, so they asked to put these on last minute. All right, Ms. Hallman, go ahead.
Just wanted to present again, like the mayor said, just for discussion. We also have a Finance Committee meeting on Monday that we can go in more detail. Just for the high level summary, as you know, the 2022 budget was very lean, didn't have a whole lot of maintenance and repair, capital projects included in it. Still coming out of the pandemic, still kind of uncertain on our revenue streams. And now that we've had 6 months, or now 7 months, going on 7.5 months of the new fiscal year, we see that our revenues, most like our local option sales tax, our TAVT tax, some of our franchise taxes are coming in higher than what we projected. Also, now that we have finally closed out the 2021 fiscal year, it's been audited. They made their presentation. As you know, we were expecting to, at best, break even. Maybe because of building permits and the timing of that, we thought maybe we would have a loss last year, but we actually had an increase in our unassigned fund balance of close to $600,000. Our unassigned fund balance is $6.5 million, which is about 45% of our expenditures, which is very healthy for any government. You want to stay around anywhere between 2 to 3 months of unassigned fund balance, and we have 5 to 5.5 months. So putting that in perspective, I know when you see this 7-page document and the title is budget changes or budget request, I can see where you may feel overwhelmed and feel like that, why are we doing this now? But we wanted to bring something. Tom had asked, as you know, there was some reorganization that was done. I believe he talked to y'all at the retreat about some reorg or whatever. So a lot of that was budget neutral, but it is included in this document as well. But there are some items that after the reorg happened, we got mid-year, Tom asked some of the departments, hey, look at your budget, see what you need for the remainder of the year. Are there any needs? The prices from gas to supplies, everything has gone up. That affects government just as much as it affects us personally. So we got most of the departments to kind of submit their request. That's what you have before you. We are asking that these be course, discuss today, but we will have them on the work session agenda on Tuesday, and are asking for these to be approved. Because now, based upon the information I gave you about how we closed the year, we did better. Our revenues even this year are coming in. You know, we have the money to do these maintenance and repair items. We also have the staff to be able to do some of these projects. And, you know, we're trying to, not that we haven't in the past, but now that we're coming out of the pandemic, there's some maintenance items that we want to be proactive about than reactive. So what you'll see on these pages, again, I won't go over all of them, but it's departments like building maintenance. They had some operational needs, again, for supplies, equipment, some projects that maybe the city manager wanted the building maintenance department to do, but in order to do it, they need the budget funds to do so. But you'll see on this sheet that there's two columns. There's, on the far right, there's CM approved. That means that the city manager gave the go-ahead to these departments to do these changes. So those are the ones that will definitely need a budget amendment. There's not in total, that's not the majority of what this request is. Then on the last column is new request. Those are items that have not been done yet, or their budget has not been amended for, but some departments are going to need this additional money in order to finish out their operations for the remainder of the year. So for building maintenance, you can see total is $52,000. Building inspections, we did find this throughout the budget as well. They do need a new truck for a new inspector, but they have savings from salary. Even though it's temporary savings, they just hired their new building inspector, but the savings that they've had since the beginning of the fiscal year to now will cover for the truck purchase. But they need, you know, in order to get the truck, they need those savings to purchase that. Community development also had some requests. And Mayor, do you want me to go through each of these individually, or?
So what I was thinking that we would do, this is the first time that they've had an opportunity to see it. And so I wanted you to hit some of the highlights. So
Sure.
maybe not every section. And then what we'll do after that is, if, while they're reviewing it, if something just sticks out and they want to,
Sure.
you know, ask about it, I think that could be good. But
Okay.
again, we are going to go into it a little bit more detailed on the work session.
Yes.
I just think it's a good idea to go ahead and get this in their hands and to give them sort of the idea of why this is something we're looking at doing now, as opposed to in the new budget cycle.
Sure, okay, absolutely.
Mr.
So,
Mayor,
So, yes, sir. Mr. Carter.
I would like to see these numbers laid beside the approved budget we did for this year. I'd like to see a copy of that budget and which of these departments are going up, which are coming down, and what this does to the budget we approved.
okay,
So, okay, make a note of that. We got the train. This is a regular occurrence here. Let's hang on a second. Okay, so that's a good idea. Work on that. We'll have that
Sure.
ready for the work session. Get it in the packet as soon as possible.
Okay.
Because we did talk about that a little bit. We didn't talk about laying it side by side, but we knew that there would be a different perspective in how that looked. Which is why you pointed out that these were things that probably should have or could have been in the previous budget, but weren't, because we didn't have staff, or we weren't sure about the revenues. But it's still really transparent to put that out there. So
Sure.
have that. Let's go ahead and do this though. If you have some that you want to really highlight for them, and then I'll let them ask some
Okay.
questions if there's any here. Go ahead.
okay. There were some capital items. I'm trying to look at the larger ones. You know, some of them range anywhere from $5,000 to $9,000, but it was things that building maintenance and fleet was one department. The reorg separated them into two separate departments. We have a building maintenance and now a fleet maintenance. Well, now they were sharing equipment because they were in one building. So now that they're separated, building maintenance is now over there at the V-Plex. It just made more economical sense for them to have some of their own tools, their own equipment, so that they wouldn't have to be going back and forth. So that's why on some of these, as far as equipment and supplies, that's why you see some of these being in the building maintenance. Not maybe that we didn't have the equipment, but now we need it to be one in fleet and one in building maintenance. On page 2, we did have the larger one is the engineering assistant in the sign shop. As you know, we're in the process. We purchased a sign machine and are buying sign materials. So we had an employee go with the Public Works Director, Bobby Elliott, to help assist him in making those signs, a current employee that we have. So that was a position that has been added in the budget and filled. Again, you can see the sign machine equipment under streets for a little over $6,000. That's probably some of the larger items under streets. Maybe if Tom wants to go in a little bit more detail today or maybe later on regarding the tree removal and sidewalk fix for Berkeley Park, Reed Plantation. Those are some high dollar ones that Tom had asked Bobby to include in this request as well. On page 3, have fleet maintenance. One of their larger items is a new lube technician. When we split out the departments, it was only with one other position, so we added a position again to help staff with the workload of on the cars. That was $31,721. And on page 3, you can see the last line. That is all the general fund. We have $116,278 worth of city manager approved items that have already been implemented. And then the new request totaled $334,370. So the total general fund request was $450,648. Then on page 4, we move into the other funds, one being the solid waste fund. They had just some operational request, additional funds for their machinery and equipment, maintenance and repair, and vehicles, education and training. We have 3 employees that we're going to have them go out and get their CDL, which is expensive, but it will be beneficial for the city. Again, because this fund runs a very narrow margin, we are actually going to have to fund this through the general fund. So this amount that's being requested of $61,913 would be funded from the general fund.
So in regards to the education and training, and you mentioned 3 employees and it being expensive, what's our hold on employees once we invest?
Do we have a hold?
I know we do on college tuition, but they can turn around the next day and walk away. How's this work when we? Go to another city?
It would be new, but yes, we've talked about this needs to have a handcuff, for lack of a better term.
We probably should find a better term.
For them, the employee to sign an agreement for us to spend that much money and the time, invest the time in them for that. So I would say 1 to 2 years. We haven't talked about it. Maybe 1 year for that type of a program.
But we don't have anything right now.
No.
And this is roughly $3,333, right? Something
Yes.
like that per person.
We would be sending them to Buford.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Okay. The next fund is the stormwater fund. You can see that there's various stormwater improvements. From a budget perspective, I know this kind of gets into the accounting technical stuff, but from a budgeting perspective, the reason you see 0 is because it's a capital. The budget impact is 0 because it's capital. So it becomes an asset on our books, and we don't expense it out like we do in the general fund. The only thing that gets expensed is the depreciation of that asset. But some of the ones that are on this list are the Flowers Culvert, which I'm sure that y'all are well aware of. And we are going to be receiving around $185,000 from GDOT to help offset that cost. So that's why that's shown in there, as well as stormwater improvements for, and these are just the design. It's not the engineering. We need the design in order to determine how much it's going to cost for the engineering. It's the Temple Street, Pine Mountain Drainage, North Candler Street, Old Tanyard Road, and Mirror Lake Dam drainage. Then the last two pages, which I know that when I've given my financial update, you've heard me say about the water and sewer fund, and especially the sewer expenses have been $200,000 to $300,000 more this year than they have last year. Again, I think it's trying to be proactive. The staff has been trying to repair and replace pumps, all kind of equipment that's been needed that is not necessarily capital in nature. It's maintenance and repair. So you'll see at the next page, well, we'll go to that now if you want to. You'll see, no, I'm sorry. Let's stay to page 5 under wastewater plant. What we've been doing during the year in order for them just to continue to operate is we've been robbing Peter to pay Paul, I say, is they've had a lot of maintenance and repair on their equipment. And what we've been doing is allowing them to transfer money out of other line items temporarily in order to get those repairs done because they're time sensitive, knowing that, hey, we're going to have to come before council and get a budget amendment done. So that's why you'll see probably halfway down under water and sewer and electricity, it wasn't that we short budgeted them when the budget was adopted. It was that we transferred money out to help them do things that they needed to do. Now we need to replenish those so that they can continue to operate. That is going to be the larger department. They have $335,000 worth of operating requests. The last page 6 kind of sums it up. You can see for total of all funds, salary, operating, and capital, city manager approved is just under $150,000. New request is just under $824,000, so a total request of $973,000. Then I broke it down, the little box down at the bottom, or not to the left, but it says general fund budget impact. Again, because our revenues have been coming in stronger, local option sales tax is 15 to 20% more per month than it was the same time period last year. And last year we were saying the same thing about the prior year. So I went through all the revenues, went over them with Sarah and Tom and said, these are the revenue sources that I feel like are going to exceed what we budgeted. So why don't we take that excess revenue and use it as part of the budget amendment so it doesn't impact fund balance as much, because if we're going to get the money in, we might as well amend the budget for it. So lost on the Carroll County side, we're estimating about $127,000 more. TAVT, we're estimating $57,000 additional. Electric franchise, just under $20,000, and natural gas franchise, $17,000. So the fund balance in the general fund, the total impact would be $292,000. The water and sewer budget, it would all have to be taken out of their fund balance because looking at their revenues, they're either at their mark or maybe just a slight below, depending on the water and sewer tap fees. So that's $460,000. But let me make a note when I say to use the general fund balance. Remember when the whole discussion about Better Balls and we had that $490,000 left and rolled over from last year to whatever was going to be decided. Then we decided, okay, we're not moving forward with that. Well, that kind of frees up money, or that does free up money so that we could use it for this budget amendment. So at the end of the day, it's really just, okay, we're not using the money for that, so let's take some of that, not all of it, but let's take some of it, $292,000 of it, and let's fund these requests. That's pretty much what it is in a nutshell. So it's really not affecting our bottom line per se on how we ended last year. So that's what the note is. We're just using a portion of the $490,000 in fund balance that was set aside for Better Balls, and we're still estimating around $35,000 for the demolition of Better Balls. And then again, as I mentioned, the general fund is funding the request for the solid waste fund. And then the box to the right is just showing you, or to the left is just showing you by fund the impact based upon CM approved and whether it was capital, operating, or salary, or if it was a new request. And then page 7, the last page, this is the reorg where we were just moving positions between departments. You can see, and that's why I put it in bold, it is budget neutral. You can see that it totals zero. That one chart right there totals zero. That's just us moving, and the details are in that third column over. We're just moving positions around, so we just need to move, or this is requesting to move those monies with it so that the budget matches the actual move of the position. And then, last but not least, other budget amendments that doesn't really have anything to do with mid-year, but this is something that I'm going to be bringing before y'all, is, as you know, the last meeting y'all approved for the retainage bonus or retention bonus for the PD. And again, we were able to see that we're seeing an increase in our local option sales tax from Douglas County, on the Douglas County side. So it's being balanced off with revenue instead of fund balance, but that's the last one. So I know it's a lot. It took a lot of time to put this together and kind of formulate everything, but I think we've kind of got it to a point where, at least hopefully it's a little bit easier to understand.
All right, let me ask if any council members have any questions here, just knowing that Tuesday at the work session, we're going to go into a little more line by line, but you will also have had an opportunity to review it and review maybe even some of the backup information in a comparison to last year's approved budget you'll have by then. All right, Ms. McCoy.
Okay, I have high-level questions. First off, you said at the beginning there was a $600,000 increase in the approximately unassigned fund balance. Does that include that $490,000 from Butterballs?
It does not.
Okay.
So that was, because at the time we did not know what was going to happen with Butterballs. So that had already been set aside, already reserved, assigned, set aside. So the unassigned did not include that.
Okay. And then on the reorg, was that captured in the 2022 budget, the reorg, or was that done after the budget had already been approved?
After.
Okay. So when we see those from the approved budget to these amendments, that's going to be a little skewed because they're still in one department, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then on the sixth page, did I understand correctly, the lost Carroll County, the TAVT electric franchise and natural gas franchise, those are what you expect the increase in revenue in the next 6 months? This isn't...
For the remainder of the year.
Okay, this isn't what we've collected in the first.
Correct.
Okay, so this is an estimate. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's all I had.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Mr. Carter.
Okay, you tied in on the last page, the police department increase we gave at the last meeting, $2 an hour and $1 an hour bonus. Is that going to be reflected in this big budget change? That you're going to show us? Is that going to show up?
The actual or the budget amendment itself? Are you talking
Well,
about?
yeah, you fixed that. This is a budget amendment, this whole thing. So
Yes.
a revision to the budgets, would I consider this?
Yes.
So that's going to be included?
Yes, sir.
You're asking if she'll bring that with these budget amendments on Tuesday?
Yeah, I just
Yes,
want to
sir.
make sure I understand it, because it's kind of tagged it on to him here, but that,
It was a side note,
that's,
but
yeah, but it's part of the budget apparently, because we've approved an increase in their salaries. So it is part of the budget now. And as I understand it, fund balance $460,600. That's not the water sewer side. It is on page 6.
Yes, sir. That is just the water and sewer fund balance. I mean, the impact to fund balance.
And altogether, we're making a change of about $1 million. Is that what it says?
Yes. Yes, sir, with 400 and, we're talking about two separate funds, but yes, the total would be 973.
Total budget change looks like it's close to $1 million. Increase of $1 million.
Correct.
Okay, just as long as we keep the property owners in mind when we put together the next budget, their prices are going up too. So don't forget them.
Okay.
all right. Anybody else?
Yes.
Ms. McPherson.
Mr. Carter, you asked about the police. Mr. Carter, you asked about the police increase. So
Yeah.
this is the bonus part. The salary increase was able to be absorbed with the dark time they had because they've had so many openings. So that item she is not showing here, if that was your question.
So it's not really a part of the budget. You say it was absorbed because we had some openings and the money we weren't paying out for those 6 people that weren't there.
Correct. So
Right.
the salary increase was absorbed in the actual police budget. What she is showing you is the other piece, the bonus.
Okay.
The one-time money. And that will be there Tuesday.
All right.
Okay. Miss McPherson.
I'm sure I'll have more once I can absorb all this. I do want to mention just on the Butterballs, though, if we do end up spending all that money, it doesn't roll over. It also will give us less for the redevelopment of that area, and we would have to rebudget it if we decide we're going to do something cool there or not. Let me make sure I understand this, compared to the city manager approved and the new request. Is the city manager approved, is that where it was just moved around within the department? No. Okay. What distinguished the city manager approved, just that it needed to happen and,
Yes.
okay, okay. Okay, less than 10 grand. Okay, got it. The overlap of community development, admin assistant, what was that?
Before the current assistant, who's now the sign shop assistant, she was still over at community development. But due to some cross-training, they had hired an admin assistant to take her place. So when she transferred over to the sign shop, there was a little bit of overlap between the positions.
Okay, so that's the person, is that under the sign? Is that the
Yes.
person that went over engineering assistant and the
Yes.
sign tech? Okay, got it. Tree cutting, okay, we knew a number of these, the Berkeley and Reed plantation we've been talking about for years. The street lights, I imagine the one for 60,000, that's probably just a variety of different places around the city, not some specific location?
I'm gonna
but
defer to Tom.
Various locations, all right. This one's smaller, the Boy Scout trim, now that's about 10 yards out of my ward, but I did get a complaint about that overgrown area that we own the property, it's all around, yeah, it's unkept. It's all around the Boy Scout hut and all. $9,000, I'll go back and look at it again, but it almost looked like a job I could do. Serious, I'll go back and look again. Well, I do have a chainsaw. I'll go look at the
Mr.
width of the
Carter
trees
took the word
again.
right out of my mouth.
But you know, when I see something and I go, I could clean that up. If I see $9,000, I'll go back and look at it again.
So next time, offer that to Miss McPherson when we get the
Yeah, that's one
chainsaw
oak
together.
tree.
We'll send her out there. I'm just
It's
kidding.
a big oak tree,
Well,
is
that-
$9,000.
See, that's what,
It's amazing.
and depending on who we're using, you want to call my tree guy? I bet over at the cemetery. Okay, well, that's it. So it's not just the cleanup all of the brush, you're taking down a ginormous tree in there. Oh, and that's needed. It's needed to come down. It's not just, because I did get a complaint about it being overgrown, right? You know, you get rodents, whatever, living in there, and it's all trimmed up around there because you have the school and a house next door and all that. Okay, so that tree's rotted, it needs to come down. I'm not trying to be picky, I'm just trying to find out. It's something that needs to be happened. The complaint I got was just the messiness of the lot, but it's been determined that needs to come down. Okay.
All right, is that it? Okay, Ms.
I think so
Montahan?
for now, because I need to look over this.
Ms. Marchman? All right, anybody else want to speak a second time? All right, so Jennifer, just do that comparison for us on the
sure will.
spreadsheet and get it into the packet as soon as possible, and we will take this up Tuesday in the work session, and then if it doesn't make it to consent, then we'll take it up in the regular session. Let's see, we're at the end here. Mr. Macklin, Mr. Barber, anything? All right, if no one has anything else, I'll entertain a motion to
So
adjourn.
moved.
Have a motion to adjourn, a second by Ms. Marchman. All in favor? We'll be adjourned.